Lyra Vey moved through the glittering halls of Sci-Fi Station with the kind of pride only the wealthy and powerful could carry. She was tall, graceful, and her presence commanded attention. Alien merchants, diplomats, and warriors of all species paused to glance at her as she walked past. Lyra had spent her life being admired, feared, and envied in equal measure, and she enjoyed every second of it. But what truly made her laugh was the notion that humans could ever match her kind. Humans were fragile, small, predictable. Their stories of heroism, whispered across the galaxy, were nothing more than exaggerations. Lyra had heard them her entire life, tales of humans defeating towering beasts, surviving battles that no other species could, and outsmarting enemies with technology far beyond their means. She found it absurd. She had always considered the humans lucky, nothing more. Today, Sci-Fi Station buzzed with excitement. The hub was hosting a grand exhibition of combat skill. Champions from every species had gathered to demonstrate their abilities, from the massive Thrak beasts of Ovaris Prime to the telekinetic Arvelians. Lyra had promised herself she would attend, not to learn anything, but to laugh. Humans were part of this gathering too, a small delegation of mercenaries whose weapons and armor looked quaint and outdated. Lyra reached the central arena, an enormous circular space suspended in midair by invisible anti-gravity fields. Platforms floated and shifted, creating a constantly changing battleground. Spectators hovered above on viewing platforms, and the air thrummed with excitement. The arena was not just a test of strength, but of strategy, agility, and intelligence, a place where the best of the galaxy could shine. She found a high balcony and settled herself comfortably. A human contingent stood near the entrance, their uniforms simple, their weapons modest. The crowd murmured, many dismissing them as irrelevant. Lyra's lips curled into a smile. She had waited for this moment. "They're nothing," she said loudly so those near her could hear. "Pathetic. They think they are warriors, but they are fragile, soft. How amusing." She knew she drew attention wherever she went, and now the humans themselves were noticing her. Their leader, a man named Elias Thorn, seemed unbothered by her mockery. He watched her calmly, his eyes steady, almost as if he were assessing a strange predator before it pounced. The announcer's voice echoed through the arena, both mechanical and resonant. "Champions of the galaxy, today you will demonstrate the art of combat. Each participant will show their skill, strategy, and ingenuity in the changing arena. May the best species win." Lyra smirked. This human had no idea what he was facing. "Perhaps one will be brave enough to step into the arena," she whispered to herself. "Though I doubt it." Humans watched quietly, taking notes, observing patterns, and waiting. Lyra's laughter occasionally echoed above the cheers, reminding everyone of her scorn. Hours passed. Humans did not enter the arena. Lyra began to grow bored. She turned her gaze to Elias again, expecting to see fear. Instead, he remained calm, alert, and poised. Something about his confidence intrigued her, though she would never admit it aloud. Then, an unexpected announcement pierced the excitement. "A challenge has been declared. Any species may send a representative to face another champion in the arena. Step forward if you dare." Lyra's heart beat with a thrill she rarely experienced. This was her chance to watch humans fail spectacularly. She leaned forward, eager for the display. No human moved at first. She chuckled. Typical. They would hide behind caution, avoiding humiliation. But then Elias stepped forward. He walked with steady, measured steps toward the arena entrance. Lyra froze, her amusement transforming into disbelief. The human's calm gaze met hers as if daring her to react. Every whisper in the crowd paused. Eyes turned to the lone human, expecting him to falter. Lyra's laughter stopped. She felt a strange tension rising in the pit of her stomach, the first in her life that she could recall. This human had courage, maybe more than any alien she had ever seen. Elias entered the arena. The anti-gravity field adjusted to accommodate him, and the platforms shifted under his feet. Lyra realized he carried no heavy weapons, no advanced armor, just a simple combat suit, light and practical, and a pair of energy blades strapped to his belt. He looked ordinary, almost unimpressive, yet he radiated confidence. The announcer's voice boomed again. The first duel will begin. Champion Lyra Vey versus the representative human, Elias Thorne. But she quickly shook off the doubt. She had strength, speed, and years of experience. Surely one human could not match her. The duel began. Lyra lunged with her plasma blades, moving faster than any human should have been able to react to. Elias dodged with careful precision, shifting his weight, using the platforms to maintain balance. Lyra struck again and again, each move met with a calculated counter. The audience watched in stunned silence. Humans were supposed to be weak, yet Elias moved with an intelligence and grace that was mesmerizing. He did not rely on raw power. He relied on observation, prediction, and adaptation. Every strike he avoided, every move he made, demonstrated a level of skill that few had anticipated. Lyra's amusement returned for a brief moment. Perhaps this would still be entertaining, but as the duel progressed, she realized something that made her heart tighten. This human was not just surviving, he was learning. Every strike she made, he anticipated the next. Every trick she attempted, he found a counter. The fight continued for what felt like hours. Lyra had never experienced such a challenge. Her confidence, once unshakable, wavered. The audience was no longer cheering just for spectacle. They were witnessing something remarkable. Elias used the arena itself as a weapon. He leapt from platform to platform, using floating debris to confuse her, redirecting energy flows and employing holographic projections to mislead her attacks. Lyra found herself off balance for the first time in her life. She adjusted, doubled down, but the human adapted again, never breaking, never panicking. Lyra's breathing became more rapid. The exhilaration of combat mixed with an unfamiliar sensation, respect, tinged with disbelief. She had mocked humans for centuries, dismissed their legends as exaggerations, yet here was living proof of their capability. Finally, a moment came when Lyra miscalculated. A quick pivot, a slight hesitation, and Elias disarmed her, knocking her plasma blades from her hands. The crowd gasped in unison. Lyra, the prideful and confident, stood vulnerable, stunned by what she had just witnessed. Elias did not strike her down. He stepped back, offering a hand not as an enemy but as a warrior showing respect. Lyra hesitated. Her pride burned, but curiosity and admiration sparked in its place. She looked into his calm, steady eyes and understood something she had refused to believe her entire life. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were clever, resilient, and courageous beyond measure. The legends she had mocked were real, but more than that, humans had a quality she had never seen in any other species, a combination of ingenuity, adaptability, and indomitable will. Lyra took his hand. The crowd erupted, not in mockery but in awe. The human had proven himself. And in that moment she realized that she had been wrong and that her life, and perhaps the galaxy itself, would never be the same. The duel ended, but its impact rippled far beyond the arena. Aliens whispered among themselves, reassessing the humans they had underestimated. Lyra, silent now, contemplated what she had learned. The human before her was not a singular anomaly. He was the embodiment of humanity itself. As Elias exited the arena, victorious yet composed, Lyra felt the stirrings of a new understanding. The galaxy was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than she had ever imagined. And humans, it seemed, were not only survivors. They were warriors of legend, capable of feats that defied expectation. For the first time, Lyra Vey was humbled, and she liked the feeling more than she expected. The arena was still buzzing with excitement after Elias Thorne's unexpected victory. Spectators from countless star systems whispered among themselves, recounting every move, every dodge, every calculated strike. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief, others muttered words of awe. Humans, they realized, were not just survivors. They were innovators, thinkers, warriors who turned limitations into advantages. Lyra Vey stood at her balcony, her pride wounded but not destroyed. She stared at the human, studying him. He had done what no alien warrior had imagined possible. Her lips, which had once curled in amusement at the idea of human strength, now pressed into a thin line. She refused to admit outright that she had underestimated him, yet every instinct in her body whispered that she needed to understand this human, to see what made him capable of such skill. The announcer's voice cut through the tension. The duel continues. Champions are invited to demonstrate further skill and strategy. Humans may challenge alien participants to prove their worth. Step forward if you dare. She had trained with some of the most formidable warriors in the galaxy. She had faced dangers most species would not dream of encountering. Yet this human, with his simple armor and quiet demeanor, had challenged not only her skill but her understanding of combat itself. She could feel a spark of intrigue she had never experienced before. Elias stepped forward into the arena once more. The platform shifted and rotated under anti-gravity forces, creating new obstacles and hazards. Holographic traps appeared, designed to confuse or distract combatants. Lasers traced unpredictable paths across the space, and floating debris simulated the chaos of battlefields far worse than any single species had faced. Lyra followed him down, landing lightly on one of the central platforms. She wielded her plasma blades, energy humming as it passed through her fingers. Elias, unarmed but alert, observed the arena with keen eyes. He did not rush. He did not panic. His focus was absolute, as if he were reading the arena itself. The fight began again. This time, Lyra attacked with measured precision. She was no longer holding back. Every strike was calculated, every movement designed to test his limits. Yet Elias responded not with brute force but with strategy. He used the shifting platforms to his advantage, baiting her into positions where her own attacks could be redirected. The first exchange was explosive. Plasma blades flashed against invisible barriers, sparks arcing as Lyra's strikes clashed against Elias' quick, evasive maneuvers. The audience gasped, leaning forward in their hovering seats. Some tried to predict the human's next move, but he was unpredictable in ways they had not anticipated. He seemed to read not only Lyra's strikes but her intentions. Lyra's frustration grew. She had faced countless adversaries who relied on strength, cunning, or advanced technology, but Elias combined all three in ways she had never encountered. He anticipated her feints, responded to her strikes with a counterintuitive elegance, and never overextended himself. Every time she thought she had the upper hand, he adapted, shifting in ways that made her attacks ineffective. She leapt higher, spinning midair, sending a cascade of energy arcs toward him. Elias dodged, using a combination of momentum and agility to redirect the force, letting it strike the arena walls harmlessly. Then, with the precision of a master tactician, he turned the environment against her. A floating panel tilted unexpectedly, knocking Lyra slightly off balance. Sparks flew from nearby energy conduits as he nudged them into positions that created temporary barriers and traps. The crowd erupted. Aliens whispered among themselves, murmuring words they had never dared to say before. A human outsmarting her. Impossible, yet he does it. Lyra herself gritted her teeth. She had faced strong opponents before, but never one who could manipulate the battlefield so effectively while remaining calm. Elias pressed forward now, not recklessly, but with intent. He didn't aim to hurt Lyra. He aimed to demonstrate a point, a truth that Lyra had yet to accept. Humans survived because they adapted. Humans survived because they calculated, observed, and learned from every encounter. Lyra realized, almost unwillingly, that she was witnessing the embodiment of human ingenuity. The duel escalated. Lasers crisscrossed the arena, forcing combatants to constantly move, anticipate, and react. Lyra lunged, twirling in midair, and Elias countered by vaulting from one platform to another, using momentum to redirect her energy attacks. With each movement, The audience's astonishment grew. They had come expecting a show, but what they witnessed was a lesson. A human teaching the galaxy what it meant to fight with mind and spirit, not just muscle and technology. At one point, Lyra tried a new tactic. She summoned an energy projection, a holographic clone designed to confuse him. Humans, she assumed, relied too heavily on physical skill to adapt to such illusions. But Elia's eyes were sharp, noticing subtle differences in movement, light, and shadow. He approached carefully, waiting for the right moment, then struck with precise accuracy, shattering the projection with a controlled energy pulse. Lyra's jaw dropped. She had underestimated his perception. Every human story she had mocked, every legend she had scoffed at, suddenly seemed plausible, perhaps even understated. She began to understand that humans had a type of resilience and intelligence that no one could fake. The duel reached a critical point. Platforms shifted rapidly, forcing combatants to leap across gaps or risk falling into energy fields below. Lyra attempted a direct strike, aiming to end the duel with her superior reach and skill. Elias, however, anticipated her trajectory. He twisted midair, grabbing a loose energy conduit and swinging himself around her strike. Using her momentum against her, he landed behind her, disarming her with a swift, calculated maneuver that left her momentarily off balance. The crowd went silent, then erupted in cheers. Aliens who had scoffed at humans now watched with wide eyes. Lyra, breathing heavily, felt an unfamiliar sensation, respect. She had never faced an opponent who could not only match her skill but exceeded in creativity and adaptability. Elias did not strike again. He took a step back, lowering his hands in a gesture of calm and honor. Lyra's pride urged her to retaliate, to prove that she was still superior. Yet she paused. Something in her chest stirred, a realization that perhaps victory was not about overpowering, but about understanding and adapting. The duel ended without a decisive strike from Elias, but the result was undeniable. Lyra had faced a human warrior and experienced firsthand what countless legends had claimed. Humans were capable, cunning, and relentless in ways aliens rarely anticipated. As the crowd dispersed, Lyra remained in the arena, examining the battlefield. Every mark on the platforms, every displaced energy conduit, every minor shift in the holographic projections told a story of precision, calculation, and intelligence. She realized she had learned something far more valuable than a simple lesson in combat. She had witnessed a different type of strength, one that relied not on power but on creativity, adaptability, and unyielding will. Elias approached her quietly. His expression was calm, yet there was an unmistakable pride in his eyes. "You fight well," he said simply. His words were not boastful. They were honest, grounded, and measured. Lyra nodded slowly, unable to reply immediately. She had spent her life mocking humans, dismissing their legends, yet here was a man who had shattered her assumptions. "I underestimated you," she admitted, the words foreign but necessary. "Perhaps I was wrong about your kind. Strength comes in many forms, not only through weapons or size." She realized that the stories she had mocked were true, and that human ingenuity was a force that could not be ignored. For the first time, Lyra Vey felt a sense of humility. She had been proud, confident, and dismissive, but now she understood that true strength could take forms she had never imagined. Humans were not merely survivors. They were warriors, strategists, and innovators who could challenge even the most experienced alien combatants. As she left the arena, the whispers followed her. Spectators recounted the duel, describing the humans' incredible adaptability and precision. Lyra could hear their awe, and it fueled a new determination within her. She wanted to learn more, to observe humans more closely, to understand what made them capable of such extraordinary feats. Elias, meanwhile, walked among his fellow humans, calm and composed. He did not boast or gloat. His victory was not about proving superiority, but about showing possibility. Humanity's place in the galaxy had been underestimated for too long, and today he had reminded everyone why they should never be taken lightly. The station's lights reflected off the polished floors, casting long shadows across the corridors. Lyra lingered for a moment, staring at the spot where Elias had stood. A sense of anticipation stirred within her. She had glimpsed a new reality, one where humans were not just legends, they were a force that could shape the galaxy. And she knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had never seen a duel quite like the one taking place on Sci-Fi Station. Word of Elias Thorne's performance had spread rapidly, igniting whispers of awe, disbelief, and curiosity among species who had long dismissed humans as weak and insignificant. Lyra Vey, still processing what she had witnessed, returned to the arena. She was no longer there merely to mock. She was there to understand. She had felt something in that duel, something that both humbled her and ignited a fierce spark of curiosity. The arena was quiet now, the platforms suspended in their anti-gravity positions, waiting for the next challenge. Elias stood at the far side, calm and composed, observing the shifting battlefield. His movements were deliberate, each step measured, each gaze calculating. He had learned much in the first duel, not just about Lyra's combat style, but about the limits and possibilities of the arena itself. Lyra descended to the central platform. She had spent hours analyzing his performance from her balcony, noticing subtle patterns, anticipatory movements, and the way he seemed to manipulate not just his own body, but the environment around him. Her mind, trained for decades in the art of combat, acknowledged a truth she had long refused to accept. Humans were adaptive. They learned fast, observed faster, and turned the smallest advantage into something decisive. The announcer's voice reverberated through the arena. Prepare for the continuation of the duel. Champions may use strategy, environmental manipulation, and ingenuity. Strength alone will not determine the outcome. Let the demonstration continue. Lyra lunged first, faster and more precise than before. Plasma blades arced through the air, glowing faintly against the arena lights. Elias dodged fluidly, moving across the platforms with a grace that belied the precarious footing. He did not strike immediately. Instead, he watched, observed, and waited for an opening. His strategy was simple but effective. Survive, study, and exploit. Lyra's attacks became more aggressive. She spun midair, forcing him to leap to higher platforms. She summoned a series of holographic projections, each a mirror of herself designed to confuse and mislead. Yet Elias remained unfazed. His eyes scanned for subtle differences, slight shifts in shadow, minute delays in movement, the faintest trace of heat from her actual body. He bypassed the illusions effortlessly, striking at the right moment to knock one aside with minimal effort. The audience gasped repeatedly, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Every move Elias made was precise, deliberate, and creative. He did not rely solely on physical strength or reflexes. He used his mind as a weapon, predicting, adapting, and redirecting forces in ways that no alien had ever considered. Lyra felt a flicker of frustration. No one had ever anticipated her moves with such accuracy. She adjusted her tactics, creating sudden drops in the platforms, spinning laser traps, and energy bursts meant to force him into mistakes. Elias countered each challenge, leaping and pivoting with perfect timing. He even used her attacks against her, redirecting energy arcs toward temporary barriers, forcing her to retreat momentarily. For the first time, Lyra experienced a sensation she had never encountered in combat: genuine surprise. Every moment with this human was unpredictable, yet calculated. He was a master of adaptation, never wasting energy, always learning, and always turning disadvantage into opportunity. The duel escalated as the arena itself seemed to come alive. Platforms rotated and shifted faster, lasers crisscrossed unpredictably, and holographic obstacles multiplied. Lyra lunged repeatedly, attempting to overwhelm him, yet Elias remained calm, analyzing patterns in real time, predicting her strikes and exploiting the tiniest openings. He moved like water, flowing around her attacks and striking only when necessary. A floating energy panel tilted unexpectedly beneath her feet, sending her off balance, and Elias leapt with perfect timing to land on a higher platform. He did not gloat or taunt. His focus was unwavering, almost serene. Lyra's respect grew, though she refused to admit it aloud. This human was not merely surviving, he was teaching. Every action, every counter, every decision he made was a lesson in the art of combat and strategy. She began to see why humans had become legendary, why tales of their resilience and ingenuity persisted despite their small size and apparent fragility. The arena's environment presented new challenges. A series of holographic drones activated, firing harmless but disorienting energy pulses across the battlefield. Lyra expected fear or hesitation, but Elias navigated effortlessly, using the pulses to create temporary shields, forcing the drones to collide and disable themselves. His ability to see opportunity in chaos was astonishing. Lyra's attacks intensified, plasma blades slicing through the air, her speed and agility unmatched. Yet every move Elias made was a counter, not a reaction. He anticipated, predicted, and executed with a precision that seemed almost impossible. He redirected her own momentum, using her strength to create openings and manipulate the environment. The crowd watched in stunned silence, then erupted in cheers as the duel reached a breathtaking climax. Lyra attempted a final, decisive strike, leaping from a high platform with all her strength. Elias, as if reading her mind, pivoted midair, disarming her once again, and landed lightly on a central platform, perfectly balanced. Lyra froze, catching her breath, her plasma blades flickering. She could not believe what she had just witnessed. A human had survived her most aggressive assault, countered her attacks, and remained completely in control. Her pride urged her to strike again, but another emotion, curiosity, respect, perhaps even admiration, held her back. Elias did not press the advantage. He stood calmly, energy blades at his sides, observing her. "Your skill is impressive," he said quietly, "but battles are not won by power alone. Observation, adaptation, and understanding are equally important." She realized that she had underestimated the human's ability to turn limitations into advantages. The audience, now fully aware of what they were witnessing, erupted in applause. Alien spectators whispered among themselves, reconsidering their assumptions about humanity. Humans were no longer a curiosity, they were a force to be reckoned with. Lyra stepped back, lowering her plasma blades. She was not defeated physically, but mentally, she had experienced something profound. She had encountered a species whose ingenuity and courage could not be dismissed. The duel had taught her that strength was not always measured by size, weaponry, or speed, but by intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. Elias moved toward her, not as an adversary but as a teacher of sorts. "Combat is about more than defeating an opponent," he said. "It is about understanding the environment, predicting behavior, and using every tool available. Strength alone is not enough." She had spent centuries believing in the supremacy of her species, skill, and technology, but this human had proven otherwise. For the first time, she questioned her assumptions and considered what humans might teach her if she were willing to learn. The duel ended without a clear victor, but the result was undeniable. Humans were capable of feats that surpassed expectation. Lyra had witnessed firsthand the combination of courage, intelligence, and adaptability that made humans legendary. She realized that underestimating them could be dangerous, not just for her pride, but for anyone who assumed superiority over their kind. As the spectators dispersed, whispers of admiration and disbelief followed Elias. He did not seek recognition. His calm demeanor and measured words spoke louder than any display of strength. Humans had proven that survival, ingenuity, and courage could overcome even the most formidable challenges. Lyra remained in the arena, contemplating what she had learned. The duel had changed her perception of humanity. No longer were they merely stories of bravery or luck. They were a species capable of shaping the galaxy through intelligence, strategy, and determination. She felt a new determination rising within her. If humans could accomplish what she had witnessed, perhaps she could learn from them, adapt, and grow stronger herself. Pride, once her guiding force, now coexisted with curiosity, respect, and a desire to understand. Elias, meanwhile, returned to his team. He spoke quietly to them, analyzing the duel, discussing strategies, and sharing insights. Humans did not celebrate recklessly. They learned, adapted, and prepared for what was to come. Their strength lay not just in individual skill, but in their ability to observe, cooperate, and innovate in the face of uncertainty. The arena lights reflected off the polished surfaces, casting long, moving shadows as the platform shifted. Lyra watched from the sidelines, realizing that this was only the beginning. Humanity's story in the galaxy was far from over, and she had been given a rare glimpse into their potential. For the first time, Lyra Vey felt respect for a species she had long dismissed. She understood that humans were more than legends. They were innovators, warriors, and survivors who could overcome impossible odds. The duel had not just been a test of skill, it had been a revelation, a demonstration of what could be achieved when courage met intelligence. And in that revelation, the galaxy began to take notice. The arena had fallen silent once the duel ended, yet the energy it left behind was palpable. Aliens of all kinds lingered in the viewing platforms, whispering, debating, and speculating. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, often dismissed as fragile or unremarkable. Now those assumptions were crumbling in real time. Lyra Vey, who had once mocked human warriors without hesitation, stood at the edge of the central platform, her mind racing. She replayed every move Elias had made, every strategic choice, every clever adaptation. Her pride still burned, but it was tempered by a grudging respect. He had not just survived. He had taught her something she had never considered, that true strength was as much about intelligence, adaptability, and observation as it was about raw power or advanced technology. Lyra's gaze shifted to the humans' team. They moved quietly, calmly, and efficiently, analyzing the arena, preparing for any challenge. There was no boastful display, no arrogant posturing. Instead, there was focus, precision, and unity. She realized that humans thrive not only because of individual skill, but because of their ability to cooperate, to strategize collectively, and to learn rapidly from every encounter. The announcer's voice echoed once more, breaking her thoughts. "Champions, you have demonstrated remarkable skill. However, the trials are not yet complete. Prepare for the next phase, the combined obstacle course and combat simulation." It would test speed, strategy, adaptability, and endurance in a constantly shifting environment. Platforms would rise and fall unpredictably, energy fields would activate at random intervals, and holographic threats would appear without warning. Only those who could think, adapt, and act simultaneously would succeed. Lyra felt a surge of anticipation. She had expected humans to struggle in this phase, yet she had seen what Elias could do. Perhaps, she thought, they might even surprise her again. The arena transformed. Platforms began shifting erratically, spinning, tilting, and rising high into the air. Holographic projections created illusions of alien adversaries, obstacles, and energy hazards. Lasers crisscrossed the space, forcing combatants to move with precision. It was chaos, controlled by the station's advanced AI, designed to challenge even the most skilled warriors. Elias moved first. He leapt onto a high platform, landing lightly, his eyes scanning the shifting terrain. He did not hesitate, did not panic, but calculated each step with precision. Humans had always thrived in chaotic environments. Their ability to adapt quickly made them formidable. Lyra watched, fascinated. Even in the midst of disorder, he remained calm and in control. Lyra followed, her plasma blades ready. She had spent her life mastering combat in controlled conditions, Yet the unpredictability of the arena now tested her like never before. She realized that Ilia's greatest strength was not in raw power, but in his ability to think ahead, to use the environment to his advantage, and to remain composed under pressure. The first obstacle appeared, a series of floating energy conduits that moved unpredictably. Any misstep could send a warrior crashing into the lower energy fields, resulting in disqualification. Lyra charged, confident that her speed and skill would give her the upper hand. Ilias did not rush. He analyzed the conduits, noting patterns, timing, and spacing. Then, with fluid motion, he leapt, pivoted, and landed safely on the next platform. Lyra's first strike against him was swift and powerful. Plasma blades arced through the air, forcing Ilias to dodge, but he anticipated her movements, using the conduit's swings and tilts to redirect her attacks harmlessly. He moved with the calm precision of a seasoned tactician, never wasting energy, never panicking. The crowd erupted. Alien spectators whispered in amazement, realizing that this was not just a test of skill, it was a demonstration of human ingenuity. Humans had adapted to survive in environments far harsher than this, from desolate planets to deadly battlefields. Here, in the chaos of the arena, they thrived. Lyra increased her pace, spinning midair, attempting to force him into mistakes. She created holographic illusions, activated energy fields, and shifted platforms, but Ilias adapted quickly. He used each element against her, redirecting energy blasts to create temporary shields, exploiting tilted platforms to gain height advantage, and using holograms as distractions to outmaneuver her. The duel continued, escalating with every moment. Lasers fired unpredictably, forcing rapid adjustments. Floating obstacles tilted, shifted, and collided, creating new challenges. Lyra attacked relentlessly, yet Ilias responded with a combination of observation, prediction, and creativity. He did not attack recklessly. He waited for the perfect moment to act, maximizing every opportunity. Lyra felt a mixture of frustration and admiration. She had faced countless warriors in her life, yet none had matched his ability to adapt and innovate in real time. She realized that the stories she had mocked, the legends of human warriors, were not only true but understated. Humans possessed a form of intelligence and resilience that few other species could match. At one point, a particularly dangerous obstacle appeared, a rapidly rotating platform surrounded by energy beams. Most combatants would have hesitated, trying to calculate the timing perfectly. Ilias, however, moved with confidence. He jumped onto the platform, twisting midair to avoid the beams, and landed safely, using the platform's rotation to gain momentum for a countermove. Lyra attempted to capitalize on the moment, lunging with her plasma blades. Ilias pivoted, redirecting her strike, and the energy arc struck the platform instead, sending sparks flying harmlessly. The audience gasped, impressed by his ingenuity. Aliens whispered, realizing that humans could turn almost any disadvantage into a tactical advantage. The duel reached a new level of intensity. Platforms shifted faster, lasers fired in unpredictable patterns, and holographic adversaries multiplied. Lyra pushed herself harder, her movements faster, more precise, more aggressive. Yet Ilias matched her at every turn, not with brute force but with strategy and adaptability. He anticipated her moves, redirected hazards, and exploited the arena's chaos to create openings. The crowd's excitement was palpable. Aliens who had dismissed humans as weak now watched with awe. Lyra herself could not hide her fascination. She had spent her life believing in the supremacy of her own species' skill, but here was a human demonstrating that intelligence, adaptability, and composure could surpass even the most advanced training and technology. Ilias moved with elegance and precision, leaping from platform to platform, using every element of the arena to his advantage. He did not attack recklessly. Every action had purpose. When Lyra lunged, he countered. When she created a holographic distraction, he exploited it to gain higher ground. When the arena shifted unpredictably, he he adapted instantly, turning chaos into opportunity. Lyra's attacks grew more desperate, yet she could not break his rhythm. She realized that humans did not fight like other species. They observed, adapted, and innovated. Their strength lay not just in skill or weaponry, but in their ability to understand and manipulate their environment. The final moments of the phase arrived. Platforms tilted violently, lasers crisscrossed, and holographic threats surrounded them. Lyra attempted a powerful finishing strike, aiming to overwhelm him. Elias responded with calm precision. He twisted midair, using a tilted platform to redirect her strike, and landed behind her. He did not attack again. Instead, he demonstrated control, strategy, and respect. Lyra paused, breathing heavily, her plasma blades flickering. She had been tested to her limits, yet Elias had remained composed, resourceful, and adaptive throughout. The lesson was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their ingenuity, courage, and resilience made them formidable opponents in any environment. The audience erupted, cheering for both combatants. Aliens whispered among themselves, reconsidering their assumptions. Humans were not simply survivors, they were innovators, warriors capable of extraordinary feats, even under extreme pressure. Lyra stepped back, lowering her plasma blades. She had learned something profound. True strength was not only about power or technology, but about intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to remain calm in chaos. She realized that human warriors possessed a unique combination of skills that could not be ignored or dismissed. Elias approached her calmly, speaking quietly. Combat is more than defeating an opponent. It is about understanding the environment, predicting actions, and using every advantage available. Strength alone is not enough. The legends she had mocked were real, and more than that, humans could teach lessons that no other species could. As the arena emptied, Lyra remained behind, observing. She understood that this was only the beginning. Humans had proven themselves, not through sheer force, but through intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Their place in the galaxy was changing, and she was determined to witness and learn from it. The stars outside Sci-Fi Station reflected in the polished arena surfaces, casting long shadows that shifted with the moving platforms. Lyra realized that the human before her was not an anomaly. He was a representation of humanity itself. Their ingenuity, strategy, and courage had earned respect not through fear or domination, but through demonstration of what was possible when mind and will combined with skill. She left the arena with a sense of purpose. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long, and she had seen the proof. Humans were not legends to mock. They were pioneers, warriors, and survivors capable of shaping the future of the stars. And she knew that humanity's story was only beginning. The aftermath of the duel had sent ripples through Sci-Fi Station and across nearby systems. Stories of Elias Thorne's skill, intelligence, and calm precision spread quickly, reaching ears that had once dismissed humanity as weak. Lyra Vey moved through the corridors with a new awareness. The pride that had always defined her now coexisted with curiosity and respect. She had witnessed something extraordinary, a human not only surviving against impossible odds but thriving by using wit, observation, and ingenuity. The arena, still suspended in anti-gravity, bore the marks of the duel. Platforms were scarred with sparks, energy conduits had shifted, and holographic projections flickered faintly in the background. Lyra walked through it, remembering each movement, each calculated step of the human who had changed her perception. She realized that humans had earned their reputation not by luck but by determination, adaptability, and a willingness to think differently than any other species. Outside the arena, spectators continued to discuss what they had seen. Alien leaders, warriors, and traitors debated what it meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. Humans, previously underestimated, had now proven they could challenge even the most elite combatants. Their combination of courage, strategy, and intelligence was unlike anything the galaxy had truly faced. Lyra found herself standing near Elias, watching him speak quietly with his fellow humans. He was calm, collected, and focused on learning from the experience rather than celebrating victory. That composure struck her more than his skill had. Humans, she realized, thrived not through arrogance but through clarity of purpose, cooperation, and thoughtfulness. "You've changed many minds today," Lyra said quietly, addressing him. Her voice carried a tone of respect she had never used before. Elias looked up, his expression neutral but kind. "I didn't aim to change minds," he replied. "I just do what we've always done: observe, adapt, and act. Humans survive because we find solutions where others see only problems. You have shown skill, intelligence, and courage that surpass almost anything I have faced." Their legends had been whispered across the galaxy, dismissed by many but now proven true. She realized that she could no longer see them as beneath her or anyone else. Respect, once foreign, had replaced arrogance. Over the following days, the duel's impact grew. Humans gained new allies and recognition across multiple systems. Aliens who had witnessed the event began to reconsider long-held assumptions about the species. Humans were invited to participate in councils, military exercises, and diplomatic missions, not as minor representatives, but as respected participants whose ingenuity could not be ignored. Lyra, meanwhile, devoted herself to observation and learning. She approached humans not as an opponent but as a student, seeking to understand their approach to strategy, combat, and problem-solving. She found their methods fascinating: how they analyzed situations, adapted to chaos, and exploited opportunities. For the first time in her life, she questioned her own assumptions and sought growth rather than mere victory. Elias continued to demonstrate human capability, not through displays of force but through acts of intelligence and courage. He trained with alien warriors, sharing insight, studying advanced technologies, and finding creative ways to combine human adaptability with alien strength. The more he worked with others, the more humans' reputation grew. They were no longer just legends. They were teachers, innovators, and partners in the shaping of the galaxy. Lyra watched these developments with growing admiration. Her previous mockery of humans seemed almost foolish in retrospect. She realized that her species' reliance on raw strength and advanced technology had limitations, while humans relied on flexibility, intelligence, and observation. They had survived and thrived in conditions far harsher than any alien species had endured, and they had turned disadvantage into opportunity repeatedly. The duel and its aftermath became a turning point not only for Lyra but for the galaxy. Humanity's story, once underestimated and dismissed, now became one of inspiration. Aliens began studying human tactics, marveling at their problem-solving skills and ingenuity. Humans were invited to collaborate on projects that spanned technology, diplomacy, and strategy. Their ability to combine courage with intellect and adaptability made them invaluable allies and formidable opponents. Lyra, once proud and dismissive, found herself learning alongside humans. She observed their planning sessions, trained with them in simulated environments, and even sparred with them under controlled conditions. Each interaction deepened her respect and understanding. She had gone from mocking legends to seeking insight, from skepticism to admiration. The humans' rise in reputation also inspired others. Younger aliens began to emulate human strategies, recognizing that strength alone was not sufficient for survival or success. The galaxy's approach to combat, diplomacy, and strategy began to shift subtly, influenced by the example of humans who had proven that courage, intellect, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable challenges. Lyra reflected on her own transformation. She had entered the duel with arrogance, expecting to dominate a weaker opponent. Instead, she had faced someone who challenged not just her skill but her worldview. She realized that true strength included humility, observation, and the willingness to learn from others, lessons she would carry forward in all aspects of life. Elias, meanwhile, remained humble. He did not seek recognition or praise beyond the acknowledgement of skill and perseverance. His focus was on preparation, observation, and adaptability, ensuring that humans would continue to thrive and grow, no matter the challenges ahead. His actions exemplified the qualities that had always made humans remarkable: resilience, intelligence, and an unwavering determination to overcome the impossible. The station's central arena, once the site of the historic duel, became a symbol of human capability. Aliens who had witnessed the events often returned, observing humans at work and learning from their strategies. The duel had proven that humans were not merely survivors, they were innovators, capable of achieving feats that others deemed impossible. Lyra often returned to the arena herself, reflecting on the lessons she had learned. Each time she watched humans train, plan, or adapt, she saw evidence of the ingenuity that had first impressed her during the duel. Humans were more than legends. They were living proof that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could shape the galaxy in profound ways. Across Sci-Fi Station and beyond, humans were no longer underestimated. Aliens sought alliances with them, observed their tactics, and adapted their own strategies. Humanity's reputation grew steadily, not through conquest or intimidation, but through demonstration of skill, intelligence, and innovation. They had turned skepticism into respect and doubt into admiration. Lyra, now a changed individual, understood that the duel had been more than a test of strength. It had been a revelation. She had faced her assumptions, confronted her pride, and witnessed the extraordinary potential of humanity. Her transformation mirrored the larger impact humans were having across the galaxy. Underestimated no longer, they were respected, admired, and in many cases feared for their ingenuity and courage. In private moments, Lyra reflected on the human she had faced. Elias Thorne was not just a warrior. He was a symbol of human potential. His calmness under pressure, ability to adapt, and intelligence had not only won him the duel but had altered the perception of an entire species. The duel was recorded, discussed, and analyzed by countless species, ensuring that the legacy of human ingenuity would endure for generations. The final lesson was clear to Lyra and others who had witnessed it. Humanity's strength was not merely physical or technological. It was their mind, their creativity, their ability to adapt to any situation, and their unwavering courage in the face of overwhelming odds. They were the embodiment of what the galaxy had long underestimated, and now no one could ignore them. As the stars of Sci-Fi Station shimmered in the distance, Lyra knew the galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven itself not through brute force or domination, but through the qualities that made them uniquely resilient and innovative. The duel had been a catalyst, inspiring respect, admiration, and a new understanding of what it meant to be a warrior. Lyra Vey walked through the station with a renewed sense of purpose. Her pride had been tempered by respect. Her arrogance had been replaced by curiosity, and her understanding of strength had been forever altered. Humans were no longer stories to mock. They were a force of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability that would leave an enduring mark on the galaxy. Elias Thorne, calm and focused, continued to lead, train, and inspire his people. He remained humble, yet his actions spoke louder than words, demonstrating the qualities that had made humans legendary for centuries. The duel had proven that humans were not merely survivors. They were pioneers, innovators, and warriors whose potential could change the course of the galaxy. The ripple effects of the duel would continue to shape the galaxy for years to come. Aliens began to reconsider their assumptions about strength, skill, and leadership. Humans earned new allies and respect, not through domination, but through demonstration of their extraordinary capability. And Lyra Vey, once a skeptic and mocker, became a student, observer, and admirer of the species she had underestimated. In the end, the duel on Sci-Fi Station became more than a battle. It became a legend, not because of violence or conquest, but because of what it revealed about humanity: their courage, intelligence, adaptability, and unwavering will to succeed. Humanity's place in the galaxy was secured not by power alone, but by the very qualities that had been dismissed and mocked for so long. The stars outside the station reflected the promise of the future. Humanity had proven itself, and in doing so, had inspired a new era of respect, collaboration, and admiration. The lessons learned in the arena would echo across worlds, reminding all species that strength comes in many forms, and that humans in particular were a force unlike any other. And so, the legend endured, not of a single human, but of the human spirit itself, courageous, intelligent, adaptive, and unstoppable.